Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we sift through the noise to bring you what really matters. Today we're diving into something many of us experience or dream about: urban living. That big city pull, the promise of great jobs, education, that vibrant modern lifestyle. Millions are drawn in every year. But as we found looking through our sources for today, wow, it's complicated. So our mission is to get past the shiny surface and really look at the challenges, the hidden costs of city life.
Yeah, and that's the core tension, isn't it? What people hope for versus the sometimes pretty tough reality on the ground. The opportunities, they're definitely there. Huge opportunities. But our research, the articles, they all highlight these significant trade-offs that really impact quality of life. So we're going to unpack not just what these issues are, but maybe dig a bit into the why behind them and, look at potential ways forward.
Okay, let's unpack that first big one then. The sheer cost of living. It just keeps going up, doesn't it? We see the headlines, sure, but the sources we looked at really break down how much higher expenses like rent, transport, even just groceries can be. It's not just a bit more expensive. Sometimes it feels like a different planet compared to the smaller towns. Take London or New York, maybe San Francisco. Rent for a pretty small apartment can eat up, what, over half your income? Sometimes more.
Easily, yeah.
And that just changes everything, doesn't it? It's not just, oh, I need to budget better. It
Yeah.
means maybe no savings or very little. Less money for leisure, for emergencies. It creates this constant financial pressure for so many people. And it's not just young folks starting out. It hits families, essential workers, pretty much everyone who isn't earning a massive salary.
Right. And what's really interesting, maybe less obvious, is how this financial squeeze creates these knock-on effects, this widespread stress. Our research points to things like restrictive zoning laws in a lot of popular cities. They limit how much housing can actually be built. So basic supply and demand kicks in and prices just skyrocket.
Okay, so it's partly policy holding back supply.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And then you've got housing being treated more like an investment, a commodity, rather than just, shelter. That adds pressure too. And think about this. Cities attract high-paying jobs, say in tech, but they don't always invest enough in the affordable housing or infrastructure needed for everyone else. The teachers, the nurses, the people working in shops and restaurants who actually make the city run. So it creates this really tough cycle.
Yeah.
The jobs that pay enough to live comfortably often need higher qualifications,
Right.
which makes it harder for people without those degrees or skills to get ahead, even just to cope with the high costs. So the very opportunities drawing people in are kind of financially out of reach for many. It's a
Yeah.
real struggle. Sometimes
Right.
it pushes people out entirely.
Wow. Okay, so that financial pressure is immense. But say you navigate that somehow, then you hit the next wall, right? Just trying to get anywhere. This is where I think almost every city dweller feels the pain. Traffic, congestion.
Universal headache.
Exactly. You know this if you live in a city. And our sources show it's not just annoying, it's a massive systemic issue. Cities are just choked with vehicles. Commutes take forever. It's a huge drain on time and, frankly, on your sanity. I mean, we saw some data points in places like Bangkok or Mumbai. People can spend hours every single day just traveling. Hours.
It's staggering when you add it up over a year.
Right. It's like losing weeks of your life just sitting in traffic. Time you could be doing literally anything else. It's not just inconvenient. It actively makes people stressed and less productive, surely.
Absolutely. And if we look at that bigger picture, the impact is way more than just lost time. That constant stop-start, the noise, knowing you might be late, it ramps up stress levels significantly, contributes to anxiety, maybe even road rage in some cases. And logically, you get to work already tired and frazzled. How productive can you really be?
Yeah, good point.
And our research also flagged that even where there is public transport, it often can't keep up.
Right.
Systems get overcrowded, especially at peak times. Or they might be unreliable, maybe due to lack of funding or maintenance issues.
Right. So it's not always a reliable alternative.
Exactly. It makes it really hard for people to depend on it consistently, even if they'd prefer to. So what we see in the sources is this sort of transportation trap. People want alternatives, but the ones available often aren't good enough. And you just feel stuck in these long, exhausting commutes, whether you're driving or taking the train or bus. It really hits the quality of life hard.
Okay, so we've got cost, we've got commute times. What about the actual environment you're living in? That's another huge factor. Environmental pressures. This feels like a growing concern everywhere, but especially in cities. Our sources point squarely at air pollution as a major one, mostly from, all that traffic, plus industry.
Vehicle emissions are a huge contributor.
And we're not just talking about a bit of smog. We're talking serious health risks, day in, day out,
Mm.
often invisible risks, too.
Yeah, the particulate matter, the nitrogen oxides, stuff you don't necessarily see, but that does damage.
And the examples are pretty sobering. Cities like Delhi or Beijing, they often have smog levels way, way above safe limits set by the World Health Organization. And that directly translates to more respiratory problems, asthma, bronchitis, more heart issues, even potential impacts on brain health. You just have to imagine living with that knowledge that the air itself could be harming you long term. It's a stark contrast to the glossy image of city life.
It really is, and it raises big questions about urban sustainability, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Beyond the air pollution, which is critical,
Hmm.
our sources also brought up something else, often overlooked: the lack of green space in many cities.
Ah, yeah. Parks, trees.
Exactly. Parks, community gardens, even just tree-lined streets. They
Hmm.
aren't just nice to look at, they're actually vital for health.
Yeah,
Having limited access to nature, to places where you can relax and de-stress, that can really negatively affect mental well-being, makes urban stress worse.
sure. Makes sense.
And there's also the urban heat island effect that many studies mention. All that concrete and asphalt traps heat. So cities get significantly hotter than the surrounding countryside, especially during heat waves. Which isn't just uncomfortable, it's a real health risk, particularly for vulnerable people.
Right. I've definitely felt that difference.
And then layer on top of that the constant noise. Construction, traffic, sirens, just the general hum of a dense population. Finding peace and quiet can be incredibly difficult, even inside your own home sometimes. It affects sleep, concentration, overall comfort. It all adds up.
Okay, wow. So when you list it all out like that, the high costs, the brutal commutes, the environmental and health concerns, it sounds pretty bleak, which leads to the big question. Why do people still move to cities? Why do they stay?
Because they do, right? That magnetic pull we started with is still incredibly powerful. It absolutely is. And that's because, despite everything we've just discussed, the opportunities are undeniable. Specialized jobs you just can't find elsewhere, world-class universities, incredible cultural scenes, diversity, that feeling of being where things are happening.
Yeah, that energy.
Exactly. That dynamism is hard to replicate. So, our deep dive has to look at the other side too. What's being done? How can cities become more livable? And our source material does shift focus here, which is important. It highlights potential solutions and the crucial role, really, of governments.
Okay, so it's not hopeless. There are paths forward.
Definitely not hopeless. Governments, often working with communities and businesses, have the levers to make systemic changes. And we found quite a few specific interventions discussed. For housing, for instance, it's not just about building more houses haphazardly. It's about investing strategically in affordable housing. Things like inclusionary zoning requiring developers to include affordable units. Or maybe land value taxes to discourage just sitting on empty land.
Right, making it less profitable to hoard property.
Precisely. Trying to tackle those crippling costs for a wider range of people.
And what about the traffic nightmare? Just build more roads.
Well, the sources suggest that's often counterproductive, actually. More roads can just induce more driving. The focus seems to be more on a multi-pronged approach. So yes, significantly improving public transport, making it faster, more reliable, wider reaching. Think better buses, maybe light rail, safe bike lanes. But also, crucially, linking it to how we build. Promoting development around transit hubs so people can live closer to work or amenities without needing a car.
Okay, building smarter communities around transport links.
Exactly. And then there are ideas like congestion pricing, charging drivers to enter busy city centers, and using that money to fund better transit. It's about shifting the incentives.
Got it. And for the environment, the pollution, the lack of green space.
Similar multifaceted approach. Creating more green spaces isn't just planting a few trees. It's about things like comprehensive urban forestry programs, connecting parks together, green roofs, vertical gardens maybe. These things help filter air, cool the city down, absorb rainwater, and give people vital access to nature for their well-being.
Right, multiple benefits.
Yeah. And alongside that, the sources stress enforcing stricter environmental rules on industries and vehicles, pushing for cleaner energy, supporting electric vehicles, really tackling the sources of pollution head-on.
So when you put all those solutions together, what's the big takeaway? It sounds like it really boils down to more thoughtful, integrated planning, doesn't it?
I think that's exactly right. The term that comes through is something like balanced urban planning.
Mhm.
It's not just about growth at all costs. It's about smart, sustainable, equitable growth. And our sources really hammer home that this needs everyone pulling together: governments, planners, communities, individuals. It's a collaborative effort.
Okay. So we've journeyed through the big challenges today. Those eye-watering costs, the gridlock, the environmental strains that really define city living for so many. But we've also touched on the potential, the solutions, the collaborative spirit needed for more sustainable cities, all drawn from the research we dove into.
Yeah, and maybe as a final thought to leave folks with, understanding these challenges isn't just about cataloging problems, it's really about recognizing how vital, thoughtful, collective action is. It pushes us to ask, what kind of city do we actually want? How can our choices, combined with smart policy and community effort, shape a future where city life isn't just bearable, but is actually enjoyable, fair, and enriching for everyone who lives there? That's the question, I think, that defines the future of our urban centers.